All right, so today on the Oddcast, we're diving into one of Britain's strangest modern legends, the story of the Highgate Vampire. And honestly, if this story had been written as fiction, people would probably say it was too over the top. You've got a crumbling Victorian cemetery in North London, occult investigators accusing each other of fraud, crowds of people storming graveyards with wooden stakes, newspapers going wild, rumors of satanic rituals, and somewhere in the middle of it all, the claim that an actual vampire was haunting London. And the weird thing is, this wasn't centuries ago. This was the 1970s. The setting is incredibly important here. Highgate Cemetery opened in 1839 and became one of London's grand Victorian cemeteries. Massive Gothic tombs, underground vaults, towering angels, ivy-covered pathways, the whole thing looked like something out of a Hammer horror film. But by the late 1960s, parts of it had fallen into serious neglect. Nature had taken over. Broken graves, overgrown paths, crumbling crypts, vandalism, fog drifting through the trees at night. It had developed this eerie reputation long before anyone mentioned vampires. People already claimed they'd seen strange things there. Ghostly figures. A woman in white. Faces staring from behind gates. Dark shapes moving between graves. Most of these stories probably would have stayed local ghost lore, if not for one man. David Farrant. In February 1970, Farrant wrote a letter to a local newspaper, the Hampstead and Highgate Express. He described seeing what he called a gray figure inside the cemetery on Christmas Eve the year before. Now, importantly, he didn't say vampire. He just asked if anybody else had experienced strange things there. And people absolutely responded. Suddenly, the newspaper was flooded with paranormal stories connected to Highgate Cemetery. But then another man entered the story. Sean Manchester. And this is where things go completely off the rails. Manchester claimed the entity haunting Highgate wasn't a ghost at all. He said it was a vampire. Not just any vampire either. According to him, this was some ancient undead being connected to black magic and Eastern European occult practices, possibly centuries old. And once the word vampire hit the newspapers, the entire thing exploded. You have to remember, this was peak British horror culture. Hammer horror films were huge. Christopher Lee's Dracula was iconic. The occult fascinated people at the time. So the idea that a real vampire might be stalking a London cemetery, the tabloids absolutely loved it. Then came the event everybody remembers. Friday the 13th, March 1970. After newspaper articles and TV appearances hyped the story up, hundreds of people descended on Highgate Cemetery expecting to hunt a vampire. Seriously? People arrived carrying crosses, garlic, stakes, even homemade weapons. Some climbed over cemetery walls. Others forced gates open. Police had to intervene because things became chaotic so quickly. And of course, no vampire was found. But weirdly, that almost made the legend stronger. Because afterwards, people kept reporting sightings. Tall, dark figures. Glowing red eyes. Strange noises from tombs. Dead animals supposedly drained of blood. The atmosphere became this bizarre mix of horror movie fantasy and genuine public hysteria. And then things got darker. There were reports of graves being desecrated. At one point, burnt and damaged human remains were discovered in the cemetery, which fueled rumors about satanic rituals taking place there at night. Whether any of that was actually connected to the vampire legend is still debated. But the media coverage intensified everything. Now, meanwhile, the relationship between Farrant and Manchester completely collapsed. And honestly, their feud became almost as famous as the vampire itself. They accused each other of lying, exaggerating, inventing evidence, chasing publicity, all of it. Both wrote books telling their side of the story. And for decades, they continued attacking each other publicly through interviews and articles. At one point, rumors spread that the two men were going to fight a magical duel on Parliament Hill. An actual occult showdown. People reportedly gathered expecting supernatural fireworks. Nothing happened, obviously. But by then, the Highgate Vampire had already become part of British folklore. Now here's the interesting thing. There's never been any real evidence that a vampire existed at Highgate Cemetery. Most historians and folklorists see the entire affair as a perfect storm of media sensationalism, Gothic atmosphere, occult obsession, and human imagination. Basically, people entered a creepy cemetery expecting something supernatural, and their minds did the rest. But that explanation almost makes the story more fascinating. Because the Highgate Vampire shows how modern myths are born in real time. This wasn't medieval folklore passed down for generations. This happened in newspapers, on television, in front of cameras, with real people and real crowds. And that's why the legend still survives today. If you walk through Highgate Cemetery now, especially in the quieter areas, you can still feel why the story took hold. The place genuinely feels haunted. The silence, the overgrown tombs, the dark pathways disappearing into trees. Even if you don't believe in vampires, your imagination starts working overtime in a place like that. And maybe that's the real heart of the legend. Not whether a vampire existed, but how badly people wanted to believe something ancient and terrifying was hiding in the middle of modern London. Thanks for listening, and if you ever visit Highgate Cemetery after dark, maybe don't go alone. Until next time, stay curious.